You have my gratitude. This way I won't have to expose my pitiful form. Berncastel had given Claire a fake form. It was a temporary form for the person acting the part of Beatrice, a fake to fool those who still hadn't discovered Beatrice's true form. Then, is this a tale about me in another world? Leon. This is indeed a tale of you in another world, and also my tale. The tale of a world where I live as a witch, not a human. I am capable of imagining what-if scenarios for my own life. However, the tale you tell is beyond anything I can imagine. Even so, it's a life that another you has led. But still, that doesn't mean I can accept it easily. Leon suddenly yelled and looked at the floor. Leon already knew, because of the fragments lent by Berncastel. Leon knew. There was a different world, where Leon lived as the Golden Witch Beatrice, and in this world, eventually, on the day of 1986 October Family Conference, she would be the ringleader of a terrible crime. Even if it is a different world, you're saying that I get my entire family and all of the servants involved in a terrible crime that I'm the mastermind of. How am I supposed to deal with that? Be quiet, listen, and figure it out. In a different life, I end up as a servant, and if that wasn't enough, I suddenly become a witch, and then I eventually carry out several terrifying murders. How am I supposed to understand that? Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I doubt anyone could understand. This person here thought that no one would ever understand. That's why you're here. That's why Berncastel brought you two. Two people who never should have met together like this. It's not like I had any deep reason for it. It was just a whim. This is a motive that no one else can understand, Leon. So you need to be the one to understand it. I'm not the main character in this tale. You are. I'm just here to help you understand. You said that you understand the culprit's motive? Yes. Is that motive a satisfying explanation for why I'd kill my entire family? Who knows? That's for you to decide. Even if I say it's satisfying, that doesn't mean it'll satisfy you. You have to decide that for yourself. I really don't have a clue what's going on. I've seen several crimes called game boards that Beatrice supposedly carried out, and now I'm hearing another me talk about a different life from mine, but there's no connection between that and the crime. I don't understand. At this point in the tale, even I could not have dreamed that I would eventually carry out such terrible crimes. In fact, even if I had been able to dream of it, I did not have the power to commit those crimes at that time. Probably, your misfortune probably came when you solved the epitaph's riddle. Huh? You mean that epitaph about the hidden gold which grandfather supposedly wrote? there exists a system for gaining different accomplices each time. Reasoning can lead us to the possibility that the culprit possessed a vast amount of money. We can also envision another system which involves inviting all to the Golden Land and making all loves bear fruit. So, it wasn't just the motive. You've already seen that far as well. That's the answer to the final riddle from the 4th game. Your greatest misfortune was solving the epitaph, reviving as the Golden Witch in the truest sense, and gaining magical power. Looking back, was that really misfortune after all? I do not know. However, as long as the fact that Battler-san returns in 1986 remains unchanged, some sort of tragedy would certainly have occurred. That's right. If Battler had returned a year earlier or later, that incident might not have occurred. No, some small incident probably would have occurred, and it would surely have been a mysterious, impossible incident, which no one could have explained, but even so, compared to the Rokkenjima serial murders, it would have been a tiny thing. If Battler-kun had returned a year earlier or later, then what? Fate can be so filled with irony. It made me walk the path of a witch, and when I solved the epitaph, I became a true witch. Then 6 years passed, and I learned of his return. If all of that was fate, then this crime must have been inevitable and inescapable for me. In 1980, Battler was resentful because of the death of his mother Asumu and his father's remarriage that came too soon. So he left the Ushiromiya family. For 6 whole years, he had no direct contact with them. He convinced his grandparents on his mother's side to help him and went by his mother's maiden name. Spoilers, by the way, guys. I do know some things. First off, I'll say this. Kairi, very sexy, very beautiful. She looks like Ivy from Soul Calibur 2. She looks like Saray the VTuber. She looks like Kaoru Nagisa from Evangelion. By the way, this... because initially Battler believes that he is the son of Rudolph and the son of Asumu. But this guy was banging both of these women. And one had a stillbirth, and one did not. This whole time, Kairi believed that she had the stillbirth, and Asumu had the live birth, and that live birth was Battler. However, what really happened was Asumu had a stillbirth, and Kairi here gave birth to Battler. And then Rudolph and Asumu switched the babies and told Kairi her child was dead. Which means when Asumu died and Rudolph married Kairi, he actually had remarried the person that was Battler's actual mother. By the way, again, spoilers. Claire, Beatrice, Beato, Leon, Shannon, Cannon, again, Beatrice, Claire, Gape, Zapar, Furfur, are all the same person. Sayo Yasuda. Yeah, same person, same person, same person, same person, same person. Same, same, same. These two are the same person. All the same person. They're also this, and this, this and this. And this. And others, but yeah, Sayo Yasuda. He convinced his grandparents on his mother's side to help him and went by his mother's maiden name. Then, when those grandparents passed away, he finally made up with Rudolph and returned to the Ushiromi family again in 1986. That bad luck gave birth to your motive for the crime. I did wonder why, after 6 whole years, did he finally come back? I understand. In a way, it would have been better for you if he had never come back. Of course, my suffering would have continued. However, I may not have tainted myself with the unforgivable crime of mass murder. How could Battler-kun leaving create a motive? You've got it backwards. Backwards? The crime didn't occur because Battler left. It happened because Battler came back. The more I think about it, Ushiromi Battler was quite a disagreeable man. More than anything else because he never realized that the outbreak of the crime was his fault. He did remember in the end. However, that was long after you gave up and disappeared. If that is so, then it would give my heart some peace. I don't have a clue what you two are talking about anymore. But yeah, these two people are the same person. But I'd like to ask you bluntly. I want to know. However, as you guys can see in the thumbnail, that person carries out a mass murder. And yes, they are dual-wielding shotguns. Lever-action ones with solid barrels. What on earth happened to you that made you decide to commit a crime? Yes, that's the most important part. It's just like how Ushiromi Battler respected the why done it in mystery novels. That's where the answers to all the riddles are hidden, both in the tale of the Golden Witch and in the game. In that case, allow me to continue. 1980. 6 years before I resolved myself to committing the crime. Chapter 6. Days of Trials. Six years until the incident. Battler-sama has left the Ushiromi family. That's what Kraus-sama and Rudolph-sama were saying. What a shock. I have no intention of criticizing your way of life or your family situation. However, father is in a towering rage. Disinheriting a son is one thing, but I've never even heard of a child becoming fed up and leaving the family on his own. That Battler can be surprisingly stubborn, sort of like someone else I know. If you are unable to understand Battler-kun's feelings, one might question your right to be a father. Enough, Natsui. I'm sure Rudolph was just trying to show how dedicated he was to raising Kairi-san's child in his own way. I would have nothing to say if this were happening next year, but why this year? He's still in his period of mourning. If you consider the timing of this pregnancy, one must acknowledge that Rudolph-san has acted disgracefully. Come on, don't be so harsh. This is my way of atoning for what I've done. Battler-kun's trying to protest against you on the behalf of his departed mother Asumu-san. I deeply understand how he feels. If he were here, I would want to hold him and cry along with him. I mean, that's a nice gesture and all, but you did, cause Leon and 2.5 other million universes to fall off a cliff as a baby and become Sayo Yasuda. Natsui's words were sharp. They pierced Rudolph mercilessly. Rudolph had no retort. His relationship with Kairi had been adulterous, plain and simple. According to Rudolph, he had been close to Kairi longer than Asumu, and Battler is actually technically Kairi's son, but neither Battler or Kairi know this. The moment either of them find out, they will be very sad and cry a lot. Understandably. And even after his marriage to Asumu, that relationship had not disappeared. Hell, I went to Walmart earlier. I was in the grocery area, looking at hummus and other stuff like that. Heard a baby crying. Made me feel really sad. To the point that I was considering slamming my face into the glass in front of me. I was like, maybe that would hurt less. Then again, in general, there are times I'll be like, mentioned before, I'll be looking at like cans of Spam and stuff, and like maybe a baby crying, or like some kid next to their dad saying, Dad, about Daddy. Like, I will always be fucking livid over that. But, I've talked enough about my personal feelings. What the hell does that mean, you old bastard? So you've just been betraying Mom from the start? Sure, I know, Kairi-san, you told me that she was your business partner, and a friend whose advice you could always rely on. And again, Battler, Kairi is actually your actual mother. But again, neither you or Kairi know this. In fact, Kairi many times has kind of resented you, because she's like, oh, if my child had lived, it would be your exact age. But, Battler is your actual flesh and blood. It's just Rudolph and Asumu switched the babies and lied to you both. Kind of a jerk move. If you're trying to say after all this time that she was more than that, then why should I give a damn? After Mom's death, you could have done whatever you wanted. I'm right there with you, saying that you should live as you please. But just when did Kairi-san get pregnant? Back when Mom was still alive, right? Yeah, now I finally see. So this is why you always make me want to vomit. Are you glad that Mom's finally dead now? You are, aren't you? I'm sure it would have been so hard on you, keeping your infidelity and even a kid secret, while Mom was still alive. But now that Mom conveniently kicked it, you get to marry Kairi-san and I get a new little brother or sister? You can bet that Mom's crying in heaven. You bastard, you're embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. So embarrassed I can't stand to have the same last name as you. The kid is completely guiltless. It'd be too sad if he or she doesn't have both parents together. Go ahead, build a new family and raise that kid to have a happy life, but I'll never forgive you. Mom isn't here to hate you anymore, so I'll hate you in her place. With all of my body and soul. So long, old bastard. That is enough, Natsui. Rudolph hasn't lost the affection he feels for Battler-kun. It may take some time, but he wants to fix their relationship one day. As any father should. If it were some complete stranger, that would be one thing, but this is your own flesh and blood son. It's clearly your responsibility. Go ahead. Despise me all you want. I won't argue. That's the only way I can atone. At the very least, make sure you give the new child a happy life. The kid who's going to be born, and Battler. They're both my kids. Wedding? Kairi-san after Sumu-san's death may have been painful for Battler-kun, but it was the best choice you could make for the coming child. I understand why you did it, and I understand why Battler-kun felt like telling you that you were happy as Sumu-san is dead. Stop, Natsui. Rudolph has already been scolded enough by the person most fit to do so. Honestly, given the additional details, yeah, he deserves worse. Now then, how about some black tea? Could you go ask someone in the kitchen to make us some? Understood. Natsui took this as a signal to leave the room and did so. Once she left, Kraus relaxed slightly. I feel bad for Asumu-san, but if we consider the timing of that soon-to-be-born child, this might have been quite the coincidence. Almost as though Asumu knew that and stepped down from the stage of her own choosing. Did you kill her? Oh. Did you? Did I kill Asumu? If so, how long has it been since I started killing her? If you still treasure Asumu-san's memory... Okay, I don't feel like your emotion is genuine here. I feel like you're having... I'm pretty sure you actually... Then again, there's like so many issues, like Asumu was more soft, but like there was concern about Kairi being... But I mean, considering you and Asumu were like much more, I don't know, devious about the whole baby switching thing. I don't know if Asumu knew, but again, you know. If you still treasure Asumu-san's memory, then no matter how many years it takes, you must fix your relationship with Battler-kun. Yeah, I know. And be sure to pour just as much affection on Kairi-san and the new child that is to be born, while also bearing Asumu-san's cross. If they have reserved seating in hell, if they do, I'd like to reserve myself a VIP spot. The news that Battler had abandoned the Ushiromiya family swept across the family. And poor Battler-san too. I do believe that he'll make up with them eventually, but this is a matter for the family. It is not something servants need concern themselves with. Genji, you have access to all of the fucking files. It is not that hard at this point. Like, it's not a difficult thing. I understand. You know, Shannon, Sayo, Yasuda is a little upset at Battler not returning. But it's not that hard. Just be like... Especially since you know, it's actually Leon and, the true heir of the entire Ushiromiya family. You could step out and say, okay, hey, I have personal information. I could go find Battler. I have the power to do so. I could get a letter to him. I can ask him. Be like, hey, I know you had this big, huge issue with your family, and you probably think Shannon probably didn't actually care about you, and you because of your own low self-esteem. But I want to let you know, you are undercutting your own importance, and this person does care about you. So, do you still want to see them? They can quit. It'd be so easy to fix this at any fucking point. I mean, except for the injuries from falling off a cliff, but at the same time. Instead, we should focus on memorizing the face of the newest member of the Ushiromiya family, Kairi-sama. Yes, that's true. She will be coming to the family conference this year. If the person who just joined the Ushiromiya family will be coming to the conference, then what about the person who just left the family? Again, letters exist. That means Battler isn't coming, right? That seems the most probable outcome. How lonely is the loss of a single noisy man. Though most people felt a bit lonely to see Battler leave the Ushiromi family, they didn't think any more about it than that. However, what about Shannon? Wasn't Battler supposed to come for her on a white horse? And Battler does remember that. Like, the very first thing he said to them was like they were talking about saying that, and I was surprised at first. I thought that since he had left the family, he might not be coming to this island anymore. If we consider Battler-san's feelings, this is only natural, I guess. I understand painfully well why he wanted to leave his family, but does that really mean he won't come to Rokkenjima anymore? What on earth is going on? Will he really never return? Unable to ask him this directly, I was forced to live each day fretfully. Talk to Kumasawa or Genji. Battler-san, I understand how you feel, but to say that you'll never return because you've abandoned your family, that's a lie, right? I was so confused that the world seemed to be spinning around me. I had a tight feeling in my chest and couldn't think about anything. When I happened to touch my cheek, I was surprised to find it hot and wet. While wearing a truly miserable expression on my face, I was crying. Shannon? Shannon? From far away I could hear someone calling to me, but it was a very strange sort of distance. Though it felt very far away, the voice also seemed to be coming from right beside me. Shannon, I know your heart. It's okay. It's just a fight between a boy and his father, and I'm sure the rumors blow everything out of proportion. Everything's just been exaggerated. Indeed, there are none who can say this with certainty that Battler will not return to this island. You would do well to remain strong. Where is this place? I seem to remember it somehow. I think it reminds me of the scenery from a strange dream I once had. Then this must be another dream. I was there, under an arbor surrounded by a golden rose garden, and 2 witches in white and red dresses were showering words of encouragement upon me. You can be sure that those rumor-mongering young servants are embellishing the story however they please. So, he has changed his name, they say. Surely this can be nothing more than a family quarrel. Thank you. I wish I could believe that. Of course it's true. He's a boy, after all. You can hardly be surprised that he's had a few arguments with his dad, precisely as you say. Clearly, they will make it up to each other once they cool their heads. When men argue, it's always fiery at first, but they burn out quickly. In contrast, an argument between women burns like a steady flame, but the fuel never goes dry. Men's arguments are fierce but short, quick and easy. You're right. I hope Battler-san and Rudolph-sama make up soon. Oh, they will. I mean, it's not like if he doesn't, it's going to completely break your heart, and then 6 years later, you're going to mass murder everyone in the family. I mean, technically, you're family too. Since technically you're Battler's cousin and his uncle. Haven't you heard Battler mentioning it all the time? He always fights with his father. This is just another one of those fights. The death of his mother and his father's remarriage have merely upset him. It sounds as though he's gone to live with his mother's parents, but after he's cooled his heads for a few days, he'll come back. It's like a kid running away from home, see? The 2 witches kept saying that Battler's fight hadn't been anything huge. If it had been a mere family quarrel, the rumors wouldn't have started in the first place. Taking an optimistic view here isn't likely to prove useful. Either way, this is the problem between Battler and his father. If you're patient, time will heal all wounds. There's no point in you feeling bad over it. Just because Battler happened to be absent today doesn't mean we can be sure he'll never come back. All this means is that Rudolph came alone today. True. Of course, he will be at the next family conference, as energetic as ever. By then, Rudolph will probably bring that Kyrie here, too. Battler may be sulky about it, but I am certain that he will come as well. You're right. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. How nice would it be if they were right? In fact, if I could, I'd like to flip through the calendar until autumn right now and check to see whether he does come to the next conference. If he does, then all of my fears are groundless. It would mean that the rumor-mongering family members and servants have just blown things out of proportion. If Battler-san was right here, I'd want to question him right away. You could just talk to Kumasawa or Genji and send him a letter. Hey, it isn't true that you'll never come to Rokkenjima again, right? And then, if he said that, of course he would come again. It would be such a relief. I don't know the phone number for Rudo-sama's house, but I could probably look it up if I tried. However, as a servant of the family, I have no excuse for making such a call. No, you don't. But you can talk to Kumasawa about this sort of stuff. You know, it's better that than let this fester in your heart and make you really very sad, and then you eventually solve the riddle of the epitaph, and then you find out you're your grandpa, dad, incest baby that was fallen off a cliff and then raised in an orphanage and then rehired as a servant. And anyway, I have no way of knowing the phone number of Battler's grandparents' house. I can't do anything except for wait for Rudolph-sama's family to come visit and hope that my fears are groundless. However, will I be able to make it through the day feeling like this? No way. I doubt I'll sleep a wink tonight. Just waiting around feeling like this when I don't know when my next chance will come. I can't do that. When? Will it be next month or the month after? In the worst case, I might have to wait until the next family conference. And I have to wait that long while holding back this suffocating feeling? I can't bear it. Hey, Shannon, sorry to ask this out of the blue, but when you made up your mind to do something by the next year, that something wasn't just quitting work as a servant on this island, right? I made the decision to start a new life. I didn't want to keep on being a servant by force of habit. I made the decision to step into a new life and to leave my old life as a servant behind. And Battler promised that he'd come here on the day of your decision, right? Yes. Tact is not one of my strong points, so I shall speak frankly. You're all the same person. All of you are the same person. But yeah, technically, you see Sayo Yasuda in the thumbnail of this video. But Shannon, Claire, Beatrice, Beato, Gape, Furfur, Zephar, Cannon, Leon, Sayo Yasuda is all of the same person. You made the decision to resolve yourselves to starting a new life with Battler, correct? A new life with Battler-san. You are afraid that Battler will not come for you on the day of your decision. However, there is more to that day of the decision than just Battler coming to see you. It is also the day for you to show that you're determined to spend the rest of your life with him. This determination is something you must create for yourself. And then after 6 years, you basically gave up all hope, and then you started dating George. You also, in your personality as canon, started dating Jessica. And then you were planning to get married to George, and then Battler shows back up, and it's like, oh. And you're like, oh, my feelings for Battler are actually still there. Emotional turmoil. Usually makes for a good story. It won't bear fruit simply because Battler shows up. Shannon, do you now have the determination to spend the rest of your life with him? You decided to put it off until the next family conference because you didn't have that determination last time, right? And again, Gape, Claire, Beatrice, Shannon, Cannon, Leon. They're all the same person. Sayo Yasuda. The main character is Sayo Yasuda. What does it mean to live life with Battler? Have you even ever thought seriously about it in detail? Well, as long as I'm working as a servant at Rokkenjima, my opportunities for meeting him are limited. We're both underage, so it's too early to talk about marriage. However, if I quit working as a servant, I should have many more opportunities to meet him. Once I quit work here, I'll return to the Fukuen House. I have my wages from serving the family, so I should have more than enough to travel to Battler-san's house to play. And when I graduate from school, I can rent an apartment near Battler-san's house. Then, well, I can work while going to school. That life would be a lot more difficult than I first thought. However, I'd be able to see Battler-san much more often. If not every day, then every week. I won't be a servant anymore, so there won't be any difference in class. I can call him whenever I want, and I'm already doing both school and work. Thanks to my experience here, I know more than enough to do simple housework. Doesn't that sound like a fun life? Yeah, I'm sure that would be a happy marriage you guys would have. You know, I'm sure nothing will go unexpected in this story, and everyone will live happily ever after.